excellent panel that we have going on, talking about the importance of streamers, female streamers in the gaming and esports space, moderated by Hannah with UTA. So I'll turn it over to you. You can introduce yourself and the panelists. Please give these ladies a warm welcome, a big round of applause.
Well, hello, my name is Hannah. I'm an esports agent at United Town Agency. We are an agency that represents professional players as well as streamers. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. It is the middle of the day, things are chaotic, but you guys are truly the pioneers and, you know, leading the charge of this. And so I think I speak on behalf of everyone here. We're just so excited for you guys to be here. So thank you. Thank you. So to kick it off, let's do some intros on these wonderful ladies. Poki began her streaming career also about 5 years ago. She was originally a chemical engineering student in Canada, but always had a love for games because of her big brother. She is the female face of the HyperX brand, one of the top gaming peripheral companies, has a successful merch line, and constantly pushing the needle in this space. Leslie, you've also been streaming for around 5 years now. She's the co-host of Streamer Camp, which is an amazing initiative that we'll go into a little bit more further, but just a quick shout out because I know she's worked so incredibly hard on it. She just wrapped up season 2, and Valkyrae also made an appearance for it, as well as Poki, so that's always great. They flew out 8 people to join them in a mansion in LA and essentially created a boot camp for streamers. So I won't give away too much, I'll let you have that. Sure. And last but not least, Valkyrae, from humble beginnings, working 3 jobs, including GameStop. Her passion for games started at a really young age, and she has been streaming for also around 5 years ago. Today, she's a female face of 100 Thieves and is one of the most recognized personalities in Fortnite tonight. She has a passion for fitness and has done an amazing job creating an intersect between fitness and gaming. So we're all extremely happy that you guys are here today. Thank you.
Wow, nice intro.
So let's talk a little bit about the community in gaming and just the uniqueness of it. I think there's a couple people in here that may not be too familiar with the space or who are thinking about entering it. But first off, how do you go about connecting to your online audience? I have individual questions. So for Leslie, tell us more about the Streamer Camp initiative.
Okay.
And also, how do projects like these keep you connected to your community?
All right, so for those of you who don't know what Streamer Camp is, it is essentially what you described it. The first one started with me and the guy named Albert. He goes by BoxBox. And as streamers, we went to TwitchCon and we saw a lot of smaller streamers that we thought had a lot of potential. And so we were just sitting in his living room and we were like, hey, you know, it would be really cool if we could bring out some of these streamers, just fly them out and host them in a mansion and just live stream a bunch of competitions between them. And you know, maybe that'll boost their streaming career, or it also just create a really fun experience because streaming can be kind of lonely. It seems very social, but at times it is very to yourself. You're just streaming in your room a lot. So I look for excuses to just get out and do things with friends. And so it seemed like a really good opportunity. And so it started off as just all right, let's just call up some friends. You guys want to fly out, and we're going to pay for everything, and we're going to rent out a mansion, and we're going to just stream for 4 days. And we did. And the first one just ended up being a lot more successful than we thought it would. And so we did it again, and that was season 2. And both Ray and Poki came. Ray co-hosted with me, and Poki came as a guest with Offline TV, and it was really, really special. And it was just stepping back, I was like, wow, this is a true collaborative effort, and really it's very fulfilling experience. So in terms of community, we did an open application process. We just tweeted out, hey, whoever wants to apply to be part of Streamer Camp, just have minimum 5 viewers, and we'll check you out. And so we got 800 plus applications. We filtered through them, and we had a whole video interview process, and we got to 8 people, and we flew them out. We just ended the whole thing. And yeah, so I guess it involves a community because it's just, the whole thing is community driven. It's everyone's like, hey, I should apply. People helping each other apply. People going over each other's videos, being in each other's videos to help the whole thing kind of happen.
And I think a lot of people's careers also launched too. People got into Twitch partnership programs
Yes.
And started YouTube. So I think that that's a really great initiative.
Oh yeah, from the first season, we had like everyone got partnered. After it, they created their own like sub community. And they have their own fans, like people who really love people from the first season. And so we're hoping that we can just continue that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Poki, you've experimented doing a lot more IRL content this year. Can you explain to everyone here what exactly is IRL, the tech, the backpack, and why does that keep you connected to the community?
All right, so typically on Twitch, it's mostly known as a gaming live streaming platform, but over the recent years, it's become a lot more common to IRL stream, which means in real life. As for the tech, there is a backpack that you can wear that has a camera and some modems in the back and routers, and it'll stream basically the live footage from a pretty high definition camera to your stream, as opposed to having to be on your computer while you're streaming. On top of that, you can also just IRL stream from your phone, which a lot of people really like to do, although data can be spotty, so it may not be as efficient as using the backpack. It's very, very nice to IRL stream because in a sense, it allows you to be out of your comfort zone, but it allows your viewers to see you in a new light and perhaps relate to, as opposed to just your gameplay or what you usually stream, relate to something that is more personality driven. And I think that that's something that's really, really important. I found a lot of streamers can have a hard time having their community watch them regardless of what they do, and that can be mainly because they're attached to the gameplay that you give or the game that you play as opposed to you. So IRL streaming is really a way to say, hey, this is who I am, this is me doing something in person. On top of that, there hasn't been much that has really happened in IRL streaming, so it's easy to be creative, easy to showcase something really new.
It's an untapped territory.
Exactly, it's very much an untapped part of streaming.
Good segue into Valkyrae. You have an incredible way of connecting with your fans online. I know that when it comes to Instagram, you probably comment back to every single person that's responding to your comments or your picture. So how important is that for you when you're thinking about your business as a whole?
Well, to me, I understand that I wouldn't be where I am today without these people supporting me, and I feel like this is the least I can do is to reply to people, and I get countless messages of how I'm changing their lives and how I ease their depression and anxiety or how I made their day just by replying to them. Like, it gives them a sense of that I'm also real, like I'm a person, I'm not just a virtual thing. So I also feel like I'm more relatable in that sense, like I'm very open and honest and just myself, and replying to people all the time just makes them feel more connected.
Yeah, totally. And I know that we talked a little bit about the early days of your streaming careers, and obviously it stemmed from passion and now full-time successful business. But for Poki, you've been streaming for almost 4 to 5 years now, and when it comes to creating new content, how do you get inspired for new, fresh content ideas?
So I think I was pretty lucky in the sense that for a very long time, whatever I enjoyed doing was also what was the most beneficial for my career. So whether that was liking a game that was really popular and enjoying to play that and showcase that. But of course, I've been doing this a very long time, and I've dabbled in numerous things, whether that be different titles, ASMR, IRL, traveling. And I kind of got to a point recently where I was like, okay, now what? And I guess it just takes like looking back at why I first started doing this, and realizing that the content that I make is always the best once I'm truly enjoying it. And I know that the viewers always ultimately really want to see you liking what you're doing. They don't want to listen or watch someone who doesn't like the game that they're playing or doesn't like what they're doing or is constantly complaining or nagging. Obviously, that's not a very enjoyable experience. So yeah, just looking back at what I enjoy, trying to find new passions, and getting inspiration from fellow content creators, seeing what else is going on in the space is always very helpful.
Very cool. And that's a good segue for Ray, because I know that your Twitter is filled with like relatable memes, quirky selfies, all the above. But how do you learn about what's going on in the space? Are there certain platforms that you go for gaming news, whether it's Twitter, Reddit? How do you get connected to the space?
Definitely a lot of Twitter and on Twitch, just watching other streams, Instagram, just seeing like how people post like videos, like little clips of themselves, like little skits, and just like the content that's like out there on Reddit and stuff, YouTube, just everywhere. Just like watching stuff and seeing how people are doing it, how they're talking about it, and just inspiration from it all.
Yeah. And Poki, you mentioned a little bit about transitions in your career, and I think Leslie's a really good example of that. You've dabbled in a lot of different types of games, a lot of different types of content. How do you keep your audience engaged throughout those changes as well?
I think for me, I've never actually been known for like one particular game. I did play a lot of League at first, and my community was used to like a lot of that, then a bit of CSGO, but I think the most important thing for me is like I see myself as like a community-driven streamer almost. Like when I describe like what I stream, it's like I'm very open. Like when I stream, like, hey guys, let's talk about our feelings today. I'm like, how do I feel? How do you guys feel? And sometimes they're like, but then they like start to open up with each other too. And once you get like, I guess them to open up with each other, then they start coming for you. They start like showing up to your stream for you, for each other, not just for the game. It's yeah, and so I've kind of gotten them used to the idea that I'm not just a one-game streamer, and so when I do switch between things, I notice that a lot of them stick, and I'm like, oh, you didn't leave, and they're like, yeah, because we watch you, like, you know, we experience this together, you know. So I think that's the big one, is that once I open up and kind of set the, I guess, environment right for them all to be more open, they start to get more attached to just the community in general.
And I think that probably prolongs everyone's career too, and it can span off to so many different things. And you know, the next question I had was around personal branding. Obviously, we talk a lot about social media and the emergence of it, but how do you see, or I guess, what do you want your brand to be in the space? What do you want to represent? That could be for anyone. That could be for anyone.
I guess it can be kind of difficult because at the end of the day, as she was kind of trying to explain, the things that will stay there regardless of what title you're playing, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of really the content you're making, is your personality and your community. That's what transcends no matter what you're doing, and I think those are the two most important things. So I think for me, it's just about kind of staying authentic to who I am and giving attention in my community to the things that I enjoy, and definitely having a good time. Hopefully teaching people how to take care of themselves, providing entertainment, and also obviously enjoying myself.
Yeah.
True. Okay. So that's really good, especially the authenticity part. And I don't know if I'm sure there's lots of marketers in the room as well who are interested in getting into the space, but not quite sure how to take that first step in creating authentic partnerships. So I hope that, you know, this panel, or at least the next question regarding partnerships, would be really helpful. And the question's ultimately for all of you guys, what do you look for in a partnership? Because there's a lot of inquiries day in, day out, and so I would love to know, in your perspectives, what do you guys look for in a partnership?
You go ahead.
Okay, well, it has to be authentic, like it has to make sense with the branding, you know, obviously it has to be something that I truly enjoy and I like and support, and also I want to, like, for me personally, I like feeling more than just a product to the company. Like, I want to feel valuable, like they actually like care about my opinion on the matter or whatever we're doing.
Yes.
So yeah.
For me, it's what you said, but also when like the brand like knows about me. Actually, like it means so much to me when I show up somewhere to work with a company or a brand, and then they actually like know my content versus like, oh, you're a gamer, right? And then it's like, oh yeah, sure, I'm a gamer. But when they like have seen my content, watched it, they're like, oh, I saw your stream last week. That was good. And I'm like, wow, like I feel a connection, and it makes me feel more invested. And I think from both sides. That's very important.
What about for non-gaming brands, like non-endemic brands entering the space who may never have entered the space just yet but are interested in, at least in the space? Is there any words of advice you guys have that you guys can share in how to actually take that first step?
To add on to what they said, I think making sure that the people you're working with are a good fit is very important. And for me personally, a good fit means either I really enjoy the brand or the product already myself, or I genuinely think that it is something that would be of use to my community. If I can't genuinely enjoy it and pitch it to my community, like there's no real selling point there. And I definitely want brands to remember that streamers are online entertainers, but we are not actors whatsoever. You can definitely tell when a streamer does not actually enjoy the product that they are trying to sell. So that's when it's really important to have preliminary conversations with the influencers that you're working with and make sure that they've either played the game that you want to showcase or the product or whatever it is. On top of that, I really think for any company or brand that's looking to enter this space, it's very, very, very valuable to talk with some sort of an industry expert, and that doesn't always come in the form of like, I've been in this scene for 10 years. It's like, it could literally be a 3-month intern, but someone who is very invested in the gaming community and can tell you like, what would be well received in our community and what wouldn't, because that's something that's really not intuitive to people from outside industries. All I'm trying to say is there is a fine line between having a really good activation and being cringy. Yes.
Yeah.
So true. And you don't want to be the latter. So that's where someone can come in and be like, no, I think it's better if you pivot this way or do that. Oh, also one last thing. I really, really value when a company that I'm going to work with is willing to give me creative freedom, because as I was saying, I know that a lot of non-endemic brands maybe don't understand the scene as well as I do. So when they trust me enough to give me that ability to basically do the brand messaging in my own way, a way that I know my audience is going to enjoy, and ultimately a way that will be better for their brand regardless, I really, really appreciate that. And it's a win-win for them and me.
You actually answered my next question, which is about how do you balance a brand's need versus your own creative freedom? Because I think that that's the position that I'm always in, is managing expectations on both sides. So what are the safety measures that we can take to ensure that marketers are getting what they want, but you guys are also honoring your communities and in a way that you want the messaging to go?
I mean, I really like vibe with that. Like, when you give us creative freedom, we know our communities best. We know how to promote the product the best. When I'm told like, you need to do this, 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 and this, and I'm like, oh, like I like know that that's not going to be received well, or I know that if I say that, my community's going to be like, yikes. So, so it's, yeah, the creative freedom thing. It goes, like you said, it's a win-win. Like, if we have that freedom to say what we want to say, it comes out more authentic. It will be received better, and the company will do the company will do better, and we will do better. So. That's like the big thing.
Like, our communities know like who we are and how we are as a person and as an entertainer, and they can tell if it's a script, and they can tell when it's not authentic, and they can read it on our face when we're like live streaming. It's just better when like we have control over that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry.
Yep, no, go
To
ahead.
add to that, just preliminary conversations. If you tell me, hey, I want you to say this paragraph, and I say, how about I word it this way? And we can have that back and forth of, okay, you can say it your way, just make sure you mention these bullet points. Just that back and forth is very nice, as opposed to having it be a one-way conversation of do X, Y, Z.
Agreed. For people who are interested in this space, I know that some of the concerns that I've received was just the, I guess, unpredictability of live streaming. Are there safety measures or tools in place that you guys have implemented to help make sure that brands feel safe about, sponsoring all of you?
For me, usually before sponsorship or just in general, I have my moderators in chat. Because anything could happen.
Can you explain that a little bit more, just Twitch
yeah,
chat
so you can, right, in Twitch, there's, you can assign moderators, like in chat/mod, and then you give someone moderator powers, and that allows them to like time people out, ban people, add banned words. Like, if someone types an offensive word, it immediately gets banned, they get timed out for X amount of time. And it's really important to have moderators who understand what is okay and not okay in your community. I'm sure we've all dealt with moderators who overstep as well, and feel too much power, and then some that just don't do anything. So you like finding that balance and a group that people respect and that you respect, that know your limits and understand, like for me, when a sponsor comes around and I have to add like chat commands, I like just tell them, hey, like I need help with this, this, and this, and they make sure a chat command rolls every 5 minutes or whatnot, and if anything comes around, someone starts advocating a competitor or something as a troll, like they know, like I'm gonna handle it.
That has
I've had it happen. So yeah.
A team of moderators is essential, and not only during sponsorships, but in general for any stream, to kind of set the tone of what your community looks like, because that typically almost always comes from the chat. And all the things that brands may not be aware of is that it's actually a lot more in our control than they may think. For sure, live streaming is unpredictable, but actually most of the unpredictability comes probably from the live streamer. For your chat, you can do it in follower mode, you can do it in subscribers only mode, which means that people have to be subscribed to your channel, and a subscription involves paying monthly. So if someone is paying monthly to write in your channel, chances are they're not gonna be extremely rude or vulgar. On top of that, yeah, there are certain banned words. There are even words that you can input that will prevent a message from even showing up. So for example, just thinking outside of the box sort of, if I was a certain brand and I didn't want the chat talking about a specific competitor, or I knew that that kind of thing would come up, you could just add that to the list of auto-moderated words, so it wouldn't even show up at all. So there's actually quite a lot that you can do to control it, and of course, a little bit of leeway, because it can still be unpredictable, but you should expect your influencer that you're working with to handle it as best as they can.
And you kind of mentioned a little bit about this and the culture of your Twitch chat and your Twitch community. How do you guys take kind of a control over that, or frame it in a way that they're prepared for sponsorships, as well as, you know, I think that there's obviously a banning system and stuff like that, but how heavily do you implement those things?
I mean, if people are watching the stream and there's like regulars and stuff, they want to support you, like they're happy for you. And what I like to do is like give them a heads up, like, hey, on this day I'm doing a partnership stream, I'm very excited for it, I'm looking forward to it, and they're just excited.
Sorry, side note, when you've said that, I've seen chat that says, Ray gets paid with like hand claps in it, so yeah, it's
Get the bag.
So, but no, I think that's a good point to make, is just having people embrace those opportunities for you and be happy for you.
They love it, yeah.
Which I think makes the biggest difference as well.
I think a lot of that also comes with how you treat the sponsorship. Are you like, yeah, I'm like gonna do this thing, like, don't be mad,
Like,
guys,
if you're
as
shy
opposed to
about
like,
it, yeah.
this is a product that I think is so cool, guys, and you're gonna love it because of this and this and that. And then if you can make your chat excited, so yeah, I think there's a lot of power with the streamer to influence how their viewers feel about the sponsorship as well.
Yeah, you can create an event around the sponsor. I remember with TikTok, I created a whole segment because I knew that they were gonna like, oh, this is more tailored towards kids, and a lot of them were like, already were like, TikTok's kind of cringe, right? But for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna create a whole segment called TikTok time, and like I would start like dancing, and then they're like, yeah! And so they literally will reflect your energy, and so if you get excited about it, they'll get excited about it. It's all how,
Which I think you all have done an incredible job doing with every sponsor you work with, so yes, keep it up. Okay, so I don't know what time it is, but we have time for Q&A. I don't know how many minutes we have. I don't know who. Is that Kai?
questions.
Do we have questions? Oh, we do. Okay, we do. Oh,
I can't look.
okay.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, so, I don't know, anonymous, does it say anonymous? Yeah. If you had to completely start over in today's streaming landscape, what would you do the same and or differently in building an audience?
Oof.
I like to think that I kind of got lucky in the sense that the way that my streaming career began was like I was probably one of, not the first female influencers, but even then it was a lot less saturated than it is now. And in that sense, you can have an advantage just being new to the space. I understand that now it's a lot more saturated, so the way that I went about things would probably have to be different and have to take that into account. Basically, like, the prominent streamers that you see, or maybe the more typical streamers, if you want to stand out, you have to be different. So I think it would probably be harder to be different now because there are so many established streamers than it was in my time. But that's probably how I would have to pivot what I do.
And I would also say people are modeling what they, like, you know, the people that they've looked up to, they've probably modeled and like looked at YouTube content and seen content that they're really into and want to model. So I just feel like the standards have gotten a lot higher in terms of being a streamer and at least how to engage an audience in that way.
Yeah, that's very true, but you also have to keep in mind, take what you like from other people, but build on it. You always have to remember, if you are the viewer, why would you watch yourself as opposed to whoever you look up to? What are you gonna bring that's different? Same for brands and streamers. When it comes to your audience or your target demographic, you wanna make sure that you're bringing value in some way or other, because that's how you build a long-lasting relationship with that person. Otherwise, it's just, hey, look at this thing. Do you want it? No? Okay. You know?
Cool. What are common pitfalls or red flags you have seen or faced when communicating with your audience?
Common pitfalls.
Probably focusing too much on negative comments, especially in a live streaming space, when you see like literally hundreds of messages per minute, and you are very much expected to be responding to this feedback loop constantly, it can become very overwhelming. And it's very much human nature that when you see the same thing, like you could see 99 positive comments, you see one negative one, and it's gonna stand out just because it makes sense that way, right? But just because it stands out does not mean you should respond to it, right? Because as I was saying, and as you said, your community will reflect you. So if you start focusing on that one negative comment, you start talking negatively, more people start talking negatively, it's a very, very bad cycle.
Yeah, Twitter is really interesting like that. Things snowball so quickly. Like one comment becomes into a massive thread, and it's just like
Especially if
a
you
pure
respond to
nightmare
it.
sometimes.
Yeah, and some people just want to be noticed. I've had people, like I'll block them on Twitter and they'll screenshot it.
They're
like,
really
like
mad,
it's an
yeah.
accomplishment. So yeah, it's very important to like not reply to like too much negativity, even though it probably does hurt and you want to say something about it, but you can't, because like more people will be like, oh, well, she noticed that. Like maybe I could say something so she can say hi to me or something. But yeah,
so hard. Sometimes your just blood boils and you're like, I wanna. But you just have to, yeah. And every time I respond to a negative comment, my chat's like, why are you responding to that? Now more people, you're feeding it. I'm like, you're right, but I just had to say something. But yeah.
that's probably the downside of the streaming, is that
live.
you can be anonymous and no one will know who you are, and you can just say stuff, you know, just to get a response out of people. But that's like the one downside.
Everything else is great. So. What are some examples of successful brand partnerships and integrations you have done? That's a good question. Are there anything? Is there any brand?
Yes.
Pardon?
We all have HyperX.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I
yes.
love
There
HyperX.
actually, there was like a seat out there.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
That's a good one.
For me, again, anything where I have creative freedom. If you're like, tweet this out and mention this, I'm like, can I do it my way, please?
Yeah.
That's always very, very important to me. On top of that, any brand that recognizes the space. For example, I did a Nissan cup noodle one.
Yeah, that was.
And the thing that was really interesting about that sponsorship was like, they understood that I was streaming. And what I mean by that is they told, basically they had me bring my IRL backpack to my kitchen, make the whole cup noodle thing, and then they added this really interesting interactive overlay to my streams where, it was called a slurp meter. So basically, the louder I slurp the noodles, the higher this meter goes on your live stream. So it's very, very interesting. Probably one of the only sponsorships that incorporated something very, very new and something unique to streaming, you know? There's sponsors on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, on everything. We've seen all that already, on commercials, on TV. Live streaming is still very much an untapped market with so much potential, especially with that engagement that you have from people in real time. So what I would recommend is, instead of looking at this real-time aspect as something that's threatening or unpredictable or scary, look at it as a new opportunity or way to interact or showcase your product.
And then just for context, overlays are essentially graphics that appear at the corner of a screen. So when she was slurping or eating the noodle, it was literally like a live.
It was like a mic at like
a live slurp meter.
Sensor mic.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And they also have integrations now where people can like click on the screen and interact with like questions and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a partnership with a game called Choice Chamber, and the chat would actually type things, or people in chat would type, and it would affect my gameplay. So yeah, it was really, really fun.
So they like help choose your adventure.
Yeah, they actually made it a lot worse, but like they would take my
that was
weapon
the
away
funny
or
part
made
of
it so I like couldn't stop jumping.
Yeah.
It just or added more enemies or made me really small. So it's just really fun.
But it's funny because your community likes to see you fail sometimes.
They
and
love
make
to
fun
see
of
me
you, so
struggle.
they'll purposely do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What would you like to change in esports? From Jeff.
Good question.
Esports.
I would definitely just say diversity, and I think that that's gotten better over the years, which I'm very, very happy for. But still, in a sense, kind of a long way to go. I would also like for kind of like esports and gaming to be less exclusive, kind of. I think there's a lot of people, especially girls, that are kind of like scared to label themselves as like gamers, but they'll play like 8 hours of Sims every day. It's like, you're a gamer too, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, just inclusivity in general, across the board, and showcasing like a diverse and multicultural set of people, because that's truly how I feel about the gaming community in general. To me, gaming and video games, it's like books or TV shows. You don't say, I don't like books, I don't like TV, I don't like movies. You like specific books, specific TV shows, specific movies. So I really feel like there's a game out there for everyone, and that's what I'd like to showcase.
And not to gas you girls up, but like I honestly believe you guys are part of that change. You guys are here today, and you guys are talking about sponsors, your businesses, and gaming. So I mean, yeah, I think you guys are part of that. Yes. Oh, more questions are coming. Okay. For each speaker, is Twitch or another location your primary streaming location? Is there a good system for first-time streamers to try?
Yeah, Twitch is the only one. I think there's a great system. Back in my day, when I first started streaming 5 years ago, they made it to get partnered. You had to have an average of 500 viewers, and there wasn't a bit system, there wasn't gifted subs, there wasn't an affiliate system, which they have now, which requires you to have an average of 3 viewers. And that way you get partnered, and then you can have emotes now. So it's a bit easier for people to make an income off of streaming right off the bat. But yeah, it's a lot better now, I think.
Yeah, me too. Twitch is my primary streaming. I think we've all been streaming like 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. It was a struggle back then. No Prime subs, no Tier 2 subs, no Tier 3, no gifted, no bits. I'm like,
Twitch
what
Prime.
is this? Yeah, it was a struggle. In terms of, is there a good system for first-time streamers to try? I mean, I only know Twitch. I would say, yeah, like you said, it's easier, way easier to like, I think like, I've seen people go like full-time around like 50 viewers now.
What?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's like
same.
a lot of people. I'm like 50, like, yeah, so because there are so many monetization options, at that point you're not getting sponsors, but I think there's a lot of ways for you to get gifted subs and donations and all that.
Are there like third-party programs that you would suggest using for first-time streamers to help with, you know, the graphics? Because I think that scares people entering the space.
Streamlabs OBS is
Yeah.
probably the best one. OBS is a very, very common program that has been around for a very long time, and mostly the one that everybody uses. And typically the way that it used to work was that you would use it in conjunction with a browser program, kind of, called Streamlabs. And then they kind of joined forces and just made one program that has everything. It has your alerts for when people follow you or donate money. It has your, you can add graphics that you can download from them. Sorry. You can add graphics through the program itself. It kind of encompasses everything that a newbie would kind of need to stream. So yeah, I really recommend Streamlabs OBS. Yes. And it's free.
Is that, are you
Apparently.
from Streamlabs?
It's free.
You're from Streamlabs?
It's from Streamlabs.
Sponsored by Streamlabs.
On top of that, I think mobile streaming is a lot easier than people think it is. You literally just need to download the Twitch app and you just go live straight from your phone. The chat's there, easy peasy, and you can post your stream wherever you want and have everybody go there.
Yeah, and they
It's
have sorry, go ahead.
No, it's basically like Instagram Live, but like better.
Yeah, and now they have categories for everything: art, music, traveling, eating, ASMR.
Everything.
So people can IRL stream any of that. It's not just gaming. So
Do we have time for one more? Okay, great. We finished right on time. You said you were not entertainers, but do you think it's important to become more expertise in becoming entertainers?
We didn't say we weren't entertainers. We said not actors.
yeah,
We're online entertainers, but not actors.
definitely entertainers.
Yeah. So yes.
Is there, like, do you guys, I mean, practice how to be a better streamer? Do you guys watch content? You know, at least when you first started out.
Yeah, I consumed a lot of content. When I was first watching, I was actually watching Poki because there was like 3 girl
I
streamers.
think
and
she
I was
said
like,
that about you before too.
I was like, who? Like, because there was like 10 girls on
Biggest
Twitch.
female streamer.
Like, oh, Pokimane, wow. And so I was like, what is she doing? Okay, she's like, talks like this. She has these great panas. This is how she interacts. This is how you're like, these are the emotes. And I just learned from watching other streamers, and you pick up on what you like, what you can adapt and kind of grow your own thing from. Just constantly gaining inspiration, and it's also really important to know like the latest memes and stuff. So you just like check out all the streams, like what are people talking about? The latest emotes of the culture like shifts very fast on Twitch. So you like it's important to to stay entertaining, to watch what you find
and like
entertaining.
new games, like when I was working at GameStop when I first started streaming, I would play new releases all the time, and I still do. But like I was so excited to come home, I would talk about like at work, what I did, and then like play this new game that came out. And people like watching like scene before they purchase a game, you know, how they want to see what the gameplay is like. So that in a way that's like entertainment value, seeing like a new game come out and also like your favorite streamer play it. So, yeah.
And I think entertainment on Twitch is kind of interesting in the sense that it's very much not like any other platform because it's long form. We're talking very, very, very long form. Not a 10-minute YouTube video where you cut out all the buts and ums and you re-say something in a more positive way.
No.
It's like you're there for 5-10 hours and you're just interacting with people that whole time. And so I think the key to that is keeping in mind that you want to be entertaining and not have much dead air where you're not saying anything, but also that your personality has to carry it. Because you can't fake being something for 10 hours a day, multiple days a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely working on yourself in general, how you like to speak, how you like to communicate things, and also those relatable memes, things that you know chat's gonna like, and mixing those two things together.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think we're up for time. Perfect.
Yay!
Thank you guys
Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right, thank you guys. Keep that round of applause going as we reset the stage real fast. That was me. I did that accidentally. We're going to reset the stage. The Business of Esports podcast is happening here. Let us just remove some chairs, take a picture, and then hang tight. So thank you again for being here.